My presentation today is entitled Collaborative BIM. And I'll start off with a bit of an introduction and how we see things out in the industry, the state of play, a bit of what we're seeing from our clients and from people out there that we're talking to about the problems they're experiencing, and then the so what, what's coming out of that, how we're addressing it, and what can we see coming up in the future and what do we have now. Just a bit about us for 2 seconds. We provide collaborative document management solutions for construction engineering projects. We're all around the world. We've got 41 cities with staff in them, about 250,000 users, and we're being used quite heavily for BIM already. We've got about 55,000 BIM models as of 2 days ago on our servers that people have uploaded and managed and stored and transmitted around. So what is BIM? I mean, you've seen all this before, but it's quite amazing how often I hear varying descriptions of what BIM is, although I must say today I've heard a very consistent message, which is great. First one is that BIM is a process. It's about how you go about it. That's the building information modelling process. But out of that, you get a building information model, which is the outcome. And I think we've used the same source for our description of what a BIM model is. It's the digital description of a project and what you get out of it at the end. We all know that it's going to change the way we work. It's going to change the way we manage documents. It's going to change the way we manage information. It's a bit of a disruption from a technology point of view, but it's something we can get over. And the reason we get over it is we see some efficiency gains out of it at the other end. So what are the benefits of BIM projects? I'm probably telling you all how to suck eggs a little bit here, but one is around improved productivity, improved communication, and improved quality control. They're the things that come out of it. And there's plenty of stats out there from various parties about what they think are the gains in numbers that people can achieve. And you probably would have seen some of these around. So about 82% of BIM experts say that they have a positive impact on the company's productivity. And about the same number have experienced positive outcomes. And about half of them are utilising tools at what they call a moderate or higher level. Okay, so a lot of people out there that think it's got positive outcomes for them. That's really why the BIM growth is happening. So what are some of the numbers out there that we're seeing about the adoption and take-up of BIM? Well, this one here is showing the average file size of a BIM file compared to a normal 2D file that we store in our servers. So we've got a lot of files out there. And you can see that the average file size is growing. It's gone from nearly 4 meg to nearly 14 meg over the last 5 years. But the average BIM file has gone up way faster than that. It's gone from 10 meg to about 50 meg as the average BIM file size. And there's plenty out there that are bigger than that. 450 is not that uncommon for a BIM file, so they're large files that we have floating around. The other one is the number of them. The number of them has just rocketed over the last couple of years. So these are the number of BIM files that we have. It was really quite modest back in 2008. 2009 we started seeing the growth, but over the last 2 years it's really rocketed away, and it's been 90 times growth over the last 3 years. That was 55,000 as of 2 days ago, and I just kind of extrapolated that out for the rest of this year, and if we keep going at that rate, then we'll be up at about 70,000. So what are the current problems? So this is in the using the lens of people that we're speaking to in our environment and the things that we do around information management. It's not so much about the authoring and the objects within models and how people actually draft these up. That's not so much what we're involved with, but how they then, once they've got that, what they then do with that, how they coordinate, how they manage their projects. So the first one is an obvious one. The files are big, they're massive. You can't email them. FTPing is not very controlled. How do you get these things around between the various parties on a project? It's a tough one. Another thing is, it's kind of going to be a recurring theme through the rest of this presentation is, so we've authored something in BIM or in 3D, but we haven't done the coordination around that. How do we get people to review and approve and coordinate on all of the different things that come up in a model? So somebody makes a change, an architect puts a penetration in a wall. How do you then make sure that you've got an audit trail of the review done by the engineer that the reinforcement in that wall is now still adequate, and make sure that that's tracked throughout it? The other one is, how do you link extra information? There's lots of other stuff that you need to link up to your 3D, 4D, 5D model, and it includes, you know, all the RFIs and all the other bits of information that might go around. It might be how you came to a decision about a particular item. It might be a PDF of the manual for a particular pump, whatever it might be. There's lots of extra information outside the model that you want to link in to create that really complete model. Because really, what's a BIM? It's an information model around a building, and it's really incomplete unless you have all that information. How do you then combine different components of the model up into one overall model? I mean, that's a problem that is solvable. I mean, you can use plenty of tools out there now to pull together these different components into one model, but it takes a bit of time. So what people are wanting is they're wanting kind of quicker cycle times, almost real-time combining of models, so that somebody can go and make a change to their particular component, upload that, and then that's instantly available as the part of the overall to everybody else to go through and review, fly through and review it in whatever way they need to do it. The other one then is clash detection. So again, clash detection is not new. All the packages out there do it. But if you're pulling together, and if you've got people on your project that are using different authoring tools, and you want to pull them together into a common overall model and then do clash detection, again, that's a process that takes time. You have to have a BIM manager that kind of pulls it all together. And you've got normally like a 1 week or a 2 week cycle on that coordination clash detection process. But if people want to be able to be doing that cycle much faster, changing something in their model, uploading it, redoing the clash detection, that's the problem, what people want to try and solve a little bit better. The other one is viewing. Again, you can create these combined models and you can send them around, plenty of free viewers that you can then, people can install on their computer, and you can send the model to them to view. But the problem is you have to send the whole model, and these models are big, 50 up to 450 meg. Emailing them doesn't work. So how do you let somebody view it without having to download all of that information? The other one is, what about the 2D stuff? It's still a fact of life that people are going to need 2D for certain components of the project. And how do you quickly and easily get the information that's in your 3D model out to your 2D set of drawings and get it distributed to people in a fast, efficient way? You don't want to have to do too much manual registration of those documents to get them out and around. But you still need to do it. You still need to track and control and do version control of those documents. And then the last one is they want to do point-in-time archives of the model as it progresses. They want to be able to lock something at a particular milestone of a project and then store it away and make sure that they can retrieve it at a later point. And because these models are big, you don't want to just suck up your internal storage space by, you know, creating lots and lots of these yourselves. So that's kind of a bit of a summary of what we're seeing as the problems. Now a bit of the so what and how we think we're going to be addressing some of those. So the first one is thinking of BIM as just the model that you generate using something like Revit or Bentley or whatever is kind of missing part of the picture. There's more to it than that. And part of it is around communication and collaboration, which again is great to hear, is a bit of a common theme we're hearing today. Here's an excerpt from a journal that talked about a project where they used BIM, that is, they used BIM authoring tools, but they kind of thought that by using those authoring tools they were doing BIM and that's all they had to do. But they forgot to talk and they forgot to communicate and they forgot to do the approval review process. And so what ended up happening was everyone sued everybody else because they all just screwed up. The contractor sued the owner sued the architect, and then the insurer brought in the MEP contractor. So they ended up all losing out on that project because they thought they were doing BIM, but they were only doing part of BIM. So what we think is the complete BIM, there's probably going to be more to it later on, but so far I think what most people think of BIM is using, if you're using a BIM authoring tool, that's BIM, and that's what a lot of people think. And some people go as far as to say, well, if we start doing model management, then that's BIM, when we're kind of all bringing it together, and therefore we're kind of bringing together everybody's authoring information into one model, therefore we must be coordinating, therefore we're doing BIM. But there's a whole heap of other stuff missing where there's a lot of value, and those other things include that extra information that's outside the 3D, 4D model that you need to link up, and also the coordination and collaboration bit, which is really important. It's making sure that you have the audit trail and being able to go back and find out why something was done that way, who said it, who agreed to it, all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot more to BIM than just authoring the information in a model. So to us, that altogether is collaborative BIM. This is just another way of looking at that same idea, and this kind of came out of a report, a strategy paper out of the UK, and what it's showing is that there's a road to BIM. It's not you're doing BIM or you're not. It's not binary. It's a bit of a path that you have to take. And so what they're really pointing out is that people start kind of moving into the BIM. They go 2D to 3D. They start moving into the BIM world. But it's really when you get to the integrated, interoperable data where you've got that information being able to be linked together with other information that you're heading towards more complete BIM. Now, this you would have seen earlier from Warwick's presentation. So really what we're trying to do here is look at the flows that the BIM MEPOS, or the workflow that's involved there. And we kind of looked at that and went, well, we can help with that. We can help facilitate that workflow. There's elements there that people are already doing right now where they're using us to distribute the models around so that they can pull them together. Using a federated model approach is quite common, is what we're seeing. And then using us as a way of archiving that, creating the audit trail, distributing it, et cetera, et cetera. So that's something that's already happening. But what we're doing now is kind of, let me outline the three things that we think we're going to be offering out to clients. And I think what it comes down to is how far you want to jump into BIM is which one of these approaches you'll take. So the first one is managing models, and that's available now. And what people are doing now, there's 55,000 models that we handle. And what that's about is about distributing models. It's about reviewing and approving those models. It's about managing coordination and the issues using RFIs and instructions and design advices and whatever else people use on projects. And versioning and archiving those and backing them up and keeping them as a record. People are doing that today. Part two is to start with a Revit integration piece. So what we're doing is building a plug-in to Revit that will allow a number of things. We'll do other tools as we progress on, but we have to start up somewhere, and in the Australian market at least, Revit is quite common. So we're starting there to allow people to be in the Revit environment and be able to publish the model straight up to the server, be able to pull it down and re-edit it if they need to, be able to link elements in the model directly off to other things. There might be a pump manual or an RFI or a defect that they want to link to a particular element in the model. They'll be able to do that. They'll be able to take snapshots when they're in the model, so there might be a problem that they've seen. They might be able to take a snapshot of that, attach that to an RFI, shoot that off to somebody and get that resolved, and then come back and edit it without having to kind of leave their authoring environment. And also upload slices and plans, so be able to take the 2D slices and publish those straight into the document register and distribute those in a controlled way. Plus some other stuff. Part three. So this is kind of heading more towards a full collaborative BIM environment. So this is something we're working on now, and there's some technology behind this, but I don't want to get caught up in what the technology is so much, but it's more what's the problems we're solving and what are the kinds of things that people will be able to do and why. Like, what does that matter? So if you imagine the kind of existing collaborative platform that we have already, which is around doc control and RFIs and versioning and all that kind of stuff that people are used to, the project team accesses that. But imagine if beside that what you've got is a BIM server. And a BIM server differs to what we would normally store documents as, because we normally store documents as a blob. So you upload a 2D CAD file, we just store that as a blob, and there's a metadata around it which allows you to search for it, but we don't care what that blob is. Whereas a BIM server is very different. A BIM server allows you to upload a model and it stores that model as a database so that you can do lots of things with it. You can merge models together. You can link objects from those models to other things. You can visualize it by visualizing only a part of the model and not having to download the whole thing. So there's a whole lot of reasons why a BIM model is an integral part of this next evolution. And so what that'll allow people to do is have various BIM authors from various tools. We don't want to have to say to a project, you must use Revit, or you must use Bentley, or you must use Cardi, or whatever. We want to allow people to say to people, use whatever tool that you're comfortable with, upload your component up to the BIM server. It'll be stored there intelligently. You'll be able to then merge together and do a number of things. So the kind of things you'll be able to do, you'll be able to do 2A links. So you'll be able to link all of the other stuff that you create and capture on your project, and it's in the doc register, and the defect register, and the mail register. Link that into your objects in your BIM model. You'll be able to publish your model or elements of the model around for review to put them through workflows, attach parts of them to RFIs, queries, all that kind of stuff. There'll be review and coordination. There'll be ability to publish 2D directly up to the doc register. It's kind of a step up from what I was mentioning before. And there'll be kind of the ability for people who don't have any software at all to be able to review, annotate, and do walkthroughs without having to download the whole thing. So you might have a 400 meg combined model, but the person that wants to view it doesn't want to have to download that. And it will allow them to view that on the web by streaming just a small snippet of what they need to be able to view to see what they're doing. So I know there's a lot on that page, but I think what the point is that allowing a BIM server and a collaborative platform like Aconex to reside together in a combined solution is really what provides the value here. And the so what is being able to do all those things really nails most, if not all, of those 8 problems that I went through before. And there's also underlaying all this, we've got a web acceleration network attached to our solution, so it kind of probably something you don't notice, but we spend about $250,000 a year on web acceleration so that stuff gets to you faster. And we're also starting to roll out this thing called a local cache. So if you are somebody that uploads and downloads files, and they are big, and you're not streaming just part of it, this local cache will allow you to optimise that by having a bit of software inside your company that when you upload something, when you download something, it only happens once. And if somebody else in your same company, in the same office, goes to try to download that same file again, then it will first check the cache. If it's there, it will then just do it over your LAN. So it's making sure that you're not sucking huge files down unnecessarily. I think there's now a couple of screenshots of what some examples so that you can actually see what we mean. On the left there is an Aconex RFI, and it's got, somebody's typed in, please refer to this connection detail. We've done a prototype up where it links off to the BIM server and viewer that allows somebody to have zoomed into a particular camera angle, circled something, put some text, and then link that in as a direct hyperlink into that RFI. So it's not a snapshot, because the person clicking on the RFI, doesn't need the software to view the thing. It's part of the web-based solution. They don't need to download the whole model, because all you're doing is streaming that particular view. But they're also, once they're in, able to then change the camera angle, zoom, pan, all that kind of stuff. So it's much more than just a static image of that particular thing they're trying to fix. And this is kind of the other way, where you might want to link a pump, an object in the model, off to, in this case, a pump warranty, so that somebody can click on that pump, see the properties, including an external link, and go off to that and bring up that pump warranty. So that's some of the examples. I actually have a quick video that shows some of this stuff as well, and I think we have time. Do we have time? 2 minutes? Okay. Guys, if you wouldn't mind running that video for me, that'd be great. I did it as a video because I knew that I wouldn't have internet connection in here and it would be a bit hard. So what I'm showing you here isn't yet live, it's something that we're working on, but it's kind of giving you a taste for the kind of use cases that will be able to be done. So here, what you've got here on the left is all the different model components that people have uploaded. You're able to click on 2 of them and then say, okay, I want to view the structural and MEP components of that model together. It renders it, and this has been done over the web, so you can then zoom in on it, pan it around, and you can see that I'll click on an element here. So you can click on elements, so it's intelligent, it's not just a dumb image. You can see the properties of that element, so it's got all the stuff that came with that model. If you go to the family, you can see that it's part of a particular family, and you do things like, show me all similar and highlight those and isolate them and do that kind of stuff. So it's a lot of the things that you'd want to be able to do with the model. Then you can obviously do clash detection. This is just going to go through, and so this is kind of the real-time component of it. Somebody could have uploaded that model 20 seconds ago, and you can instantly go in, do clash detection. It's got a list of clashes over there on the left. You can go through those and bring up each one by one if you want to, and it'll show you those particular clashes. That's a bit of duct clashing with a structural beam. This is another one. And if you want to then do something with that, you can do a bit of kind of online markup annotation, put some comments, and send that as kind of a link in an RFI, so that when that person gets the RFI, click on the link, takes them to exactly that view of that thing, and they can then respond to it and get back. And what you've then got is your model with all the information plus this audit trail of the communication that went on around that clash. This is just repeating, I assume. So that's kind of part of where we are and part of where we're heading. Hope it gives you a bit of a taste of what's to come.